Trane. I can tell you we're just absolutely thrilled and excited and honored to host this event. I'm shared here by a few of my cohorts. Right up front, Richard Picker and Lou Zaccone. Our management team is here and a number of our associates. And so they worked very hard to prepare this event, so thank you very much for those of you that did that. Thank you. So a little bit about Harshaw Trane. We know what it's like to graduate from a small business to a large business. Started in 1976 with 13 associates. Today it's nearly 300. We started as a manufacturer's equipment representative. If you look behind me, you can see that's still an important part of our business. But over the last 2 decades, we've really transitioned to become an energy services company. We work with military bases, hospitals, schools, manufacturers, help them lower their energy costs, reduce energy consumption, and become energy independent if that's what they choose to do. Our president, Frank Harshaw, really wanted to be here today. He had travel plans weeks ago with his wife Paula and daughter Ginny, and he and the governor share a common passion. They have a special place in their heart for foster care, and their passion, their vision is for Kentucky to be the very best experience for those children in the country. And our president wanted to thank the governor. He's not here. He'll be here shortly. He's here. He's back there. Wanted to thank him for his work for foster care. Last year I had the opportunity to serve on one of the governor's transition teams, and I thought, when I was asked to do that, I thought, well, this will be easy. I'll go to a couple meetings. I'll impart some words of wisdom. I'll do a white paper, and I'll be home early. And what I found out was, holy cow, these people worked so hard. His entire transition team, everybody I met, long hours, just an absolute passion to make Kentucky a better place to live, work, and play. And I will never forget that experience and how impressed I was with his leadership and his devotion and his commitment to help us all grow. So with that, I'd like to formally introduce the governor. So Matthew Griswold Bevin, and I'll probably never get to say that again, was elected as the 62nd governor Tuesday, November 3rd, 2015. He's a loving husband. He is a father of 9 children. He's a military veteran, small business entrepreneur with a long track record of success. He understands what it takes to be successful in business, and I can't tell you how grateful we are for that. He was born in 1967 to Avery and Louise, spent his childhood in a small farmhouse in rural New Hampshire. They raised the majority of their livestock and crops, lived in a very moderate home, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom. You might wonder, why is that in his bio? Well, I can tell you, I grew up in a family of 6, 2 older sisters, 1 bathroom. You learn a lot of patience and appreciation for bushes. Although it was a financially humble home, the governor was raised with strong work ethic, strong Christian values, and appreciation for family blessings, and he brings that to his administration. Fueled a solid upbringing, driven personally, governor began to immerse himself into public service at a young age, 4-H, president of his local chapter, the Dairy Club. He received an ROTC scholarship, graduated with degrees from Washington and Lee University in Lexington. Took a little time off to do a 3,800-mile bike ride, and I'm guessing that was not a day trip. Then he began to serve as active duty as an Army military officer. Following his transition, he spent many years working in the financial industry. It was during this time that a job opportunity was created, and that's what brought him to Kentucky. He and his wife, Glenda, she's a registered nurse, came here 17 years ago. Kentucky is now his home. He loves it here. He's placed roots here, and I imagine he will never leave. So in 2011, Governor became the 6th generation president of Bevin Brothers. This is a small bell manufacturing. Interesting enough, this is the company that makes the bells for all the Salvation Army. So it's got a rich heritage. And he really took that company out of bankruptcy, saved numerous jobs, over 25 jobs, and today it's profitable and successful. He served on many nonprofit boards, including chairman of the board, the American Red Cross, the Louisville chapter. He has permanently endowed several scholarships, funds, grants, and centers to provide educational opportunities for young people with limited financial resources. The Bevins are active in the community and attend Southeast Christian Church. Please join me in welcoming Governor Matt Bevin.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. He forgot to tell you that my first bicycle was red, and no, I'm just kidding. That was we were going to go with a short version there. I'm not sure what happened. But thank you truly for being here. Thank you for caring about this issue. Thank you for being a part of the American process. I'll keep my comments brief. I want you to be able to hear from our Vice President. Beautiful thing about meeting in a warehouse is there's actually things around you, so be careful. I will say this. The conversation that has been had, and there's so many in the media, I'll speak to those of you, but also to us as just the folk. The discussion that there is disagreement with people as to what to do with health care that touches every one of the 320 some odd million Americans, however many of us there are now. Of course there's disagreement as to what we should do with it. This is America. Americans have opinions. You can't be married to somebody for 2 days, let alone 20-some years as I have been, and be in complete agreement on everything at every time. There is a catastrophe that has been foisted upon the American people, known as the Affordable Care Act. It's been anything but. This Obamacare / Affordable Care Act, whatever it is that it goes by, has been truly devastating. We have just been in a meeting with a number of small business owners, the Vice President and myself, talking about how it has actually impacted them. These are folks who employ thousands upon thousands of folks. It has devastated their businesses. It creates confusion. It creates difficulty. It creates cost. It ultimately gets passed through to somebody, so it does need to be fixed. The system is collapsing. Fewer and fewer insurers are even willing to actually be on exchanges. And so this idea that it's somehow working in Kentucky, for those of you that are part of the national media, I'm telling you, it doesn't work in Kentucky. And you're going to see our former governor yet again try to maintain some semblance of a legacy by telling you it's working. It's not working. Half our counties only have a single provider. It's not working in Kentucky. Humana is going to be leaving ours exchange and every other exchange in the country. Others are going to do the same thing. The cost has become prohibitive. People can't even afford the deductibles that they have, if they can even afford the premium itself. And for those that are getting it for free, frankly, what's free to somebody is very expensive to somebody else. That's the reality. That's what we need to think about. So the message that we want to share is that change is coming. Obamacare is a disaster. It needs to be repealed. It needs to be replaced. It needs to be something that is effective. And the important thing to understand above all else is this. It's not about coverage. It's not about providing coverage without being mindful of creating better health outcomes. That is the point. The point is to create a healthier populace, to create better health outcomes so that people have healthier lives. Interestingly, healthier people ultimately will cost the system less. So while saving money isn't the goal, in reality, if we focus on the health care and health outcomes, we will ultimately have a more affordable system. You're going to hear from the Vice President speaking about things that he and the President and Congress are working toward as it relates to creating competition. So I won't take his comments, but I will say this. Stay tuned. Expect there to be healthy dialogue. This is a multi-step process. The reconciliation process, people hear it, very few really understand how it works. It is imperative to understand that what may get through the House as it exists right now, and there's a couple of our congressmen here I saw earlier, I think Congressman Guthrie and Congressman Barr, here they are right here in front of me. Thank you both for being here. You shifted on me from where I saw you out the curtain. The bottom line is these guys know what works in the House. There's 435 people working hard to try to come up with a solution that they can agree on. It may or may not in its exact form be exactly what could move through the Senate. Fair enough. Ultimately, these differences of opinion will be reconciled. And right now, even within their ranks, as within the Senate ranks, as within even the administration ranks, there are differences of ideas. But the one thing everyone has agreed upon is this. Change has to come. The system is broken. The system is broken. And I am confident, I am very confident that this president and our vice president, who we're about to hear from, understand exactly what needs to happen. They understand exactly how important it is that Obamacare be repealed. And it will get done. And they're moving with a sense of purpose, the likes of which we've not seen for quite some time at the federal level. I want to introduce now the person that you really came to hear from, a guy who has been a dear friend of mine for quite some time, who's been a mentor to me politically, somebody who has been truly as good of a sounding board for me as anybody I've ever known in the political ranks. And he's somebody that I'm grateful to be able to introduce to you now. a guy who you've gotten to know as a neighboring governor, a guy whose faith guides him, whose decision-making is informed by his years in Congress, his years as an executive, as a manager, as the CEO and the governor of a state, in a state that has done well, one that I have been unapologetically trying to copy the best elements of for quite some time, a state that is well ahead of us in some respects. We're playing catch-up as quickly as we can. But I will say this. I've kicked footballs with this guy. I've had private conversations with this guy. I've prayed with this guy. I've been able to meet and talk with our families. He's a guy that I have as much respect for as anybody I know in the political world. Please help me welcome the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence.
Hello, Kentucky. Thank you, Governor, for that great introduction. And ladies and gentlemen, how about that Governor Matt Bevin? Everybody? Give me something. You know, Kentucky, I truly do believe. I like to say to people, I was for Matt Bevin before it was cool. Kentucky really is blessed to have such a principled leader who's doing such great things for the state, restoring fiscal responsibility, rolling back red tape, and today, because of Governor Matt Bevin, Kentucky is now a right-to-work state. Kentucky is open for business. Governor, the President and I are proud to partner with you to make Kentucky great again, as we make America great again. You know, I get along great with people from Kentucky, except in March. Gets a little testy some evenings. But the same goes with all my strong feelings about your governor go for other dedicated public servants who are here. State Senator Ralph Alvarado just joined us for a great discussion. And two great congressmen who I serve with in Washington, D.C., Congressman Andy Barr, Congressman Brett Guthrie. Would you all just stand up and let these people show how much they appreciate your conservative stand in Washington, D.C. Thank you both. And I got to tell you, it's great to be in the home state of the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. He's a true friend to me, to our president, and to the people of America. Great to have the privilege to be back in the bluegrass state. You know, last fall, thanks to all of you here in Kentucky, to your hard work, your support, and your prayers, Kentucky voted to make Donald Trump the 45th President of the United States of America in a decisive vote. You know, and it was quite a campaign, wasn't it? And it's been quite an administration, too. I got to tell you, it's on a very personal level. It's the greatest honor of my life to serve as Vice President to President Donald Trump. And I want to thank you all for the privilege. The President is a man of boundless energy, optimism. I like to say he's got broad shoulders and a big heart. And speaking of which, the President asked me late yesterday when we were leaving the White House in the evening to just say thanks to everyone gathered here today. Hardworking Americans like all of you were some of our biggest supporters. And on behalf of President Trump, thank you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for being here today. We're truly grateful. And to all the business owners who are with us here today, I enjoyed our discussion earlier. The governor and I had a brisk discussion about the challenges that changes in health care in this country since 2010 have presented to business. I appreciate your candid feedback about what our administration can do to help your businesses succeed and grow. And I have to tell you, one other person I want to mention before I thank our hosts. It is always good to have Papa John in the house. John Schnatter and his wonderful wife are with us today. The Midwest is proud that you call Kentucky and America home. John, thank you. There he is. But last but not least, on behalf of the President, let me thank Harshaw Trane for their hospitality. While Frank Harshaw couldn't be here today, not only do I appreciate the warm welcome of his team, Richard and Tom and Lou, we just so admire Frank. Building an extraordinary business, someone who grew up in foster care. Frank and his story are the story of the American dream. And would you join me in thanking them for allowing this great business to be our backdrop? And all of those who run businesses, own businesses, or work in small business, let me make you a promise. The President wants you to know our administration will be the best friend America's small businesses will ever have. And the President and I know that small businesses are the engines of the American economy. As President Trump said in his joint address to Congress just last week, we're going to restart the engine to create jobs and prosperity and growth in America like never before. You know, I grew up in a small business family just a little bit north of here in Columbus, Indiana. I went to work at my father's gas station when I was only 14 years of age. I was actually what was called a gas station attendant. If you're under the age of 30, I'll explain to you after the program exactly what that was. But as the world also knows, the President grew up in a family business too. We both know the sacrifices that are required to make a business work. And more importantly, we know that when small business is strong, America is strong. And this President's going to fight every day to make that a reality. President Trump wants to help you. Wants to help you become stronger than ever before. He made a promise to you and to the American people. And as I like to say, this White House is in the promise-keeping business. I mean, just look at what we've done over the past month and a half. On day one, President Trump went straight to work, rolling back reams of red tape. He actually instructed every agency of the federal government to find 2 regulations to get rid of before issuing any new regulations on job creators in America. You know, the President's taken decisive action to protect American jobs and American workers by taking measures to secure our border, to build a wall and end illegal immigration once and for all. The President authorized the Keystone and Dakota pipelines at last, creating thousands of American jobs and building on America's energy infrastructure. Businesses, and if you haven't noticed already, businesses have been already reacting to President Trump's vision, his Buy American, Hire American vision, with optimism and investment around the country from coast to coast, literally since Election Day. Companies have been announcing that they're keeping jobs here, they're creating new ones. Last month alone, the economy added an amazing 235,000 jobs in the month of February. This economy is coming back and coming back strong. And most importantly of all, the top priority the President gave us, to work with members of Congress and make sure that the Obamacare nightmare is about to end. I'll tell you, it's amazing to think about. I mean, virtually every promise of Obamacare has been broken. We all remember the promises that they made back in 2010 when this was signed into law. They told us the cost of health insurance would go down. Not true. They told us if you liked your doctors, you could keep them. Not true. They told us if you liked your health plan, you could keep it. Not true. Here are the heartbreaking facts. Today, Americans are paying $3,000 more a year on average for health insurance than the day Obamacare was signed into law. Last year alone, premiums spiked by 25%, and millions of Americans have lost their health insurance plans and lost their doctors. And in 1/3 of the nation's counties, Americans only have one insurance company to choose from, which essentially means they have no choice at all. The truth is the American people are struggling under Obamacare every day. And so are small businesses like those so well represented here. You all know exactly what I'm talking about. The truth is Kentucky is a textbook example of Obamacare's failures. Here in the Blue Cross state, premiums skyrocketed by an average of 24% last year. with some plans spiking by 47%. Nearly half of the state has only one health insurer to choose from. And next year, Humana, headquartered right here in Louisville, is pulling out of Kentucky's Obamacare exchange. Today, 1/3 of the state is on Medicaid. And as your governor has said over and over again, it's unsustainable. And Medicaid here in Kentucky is threatening to bankrupt this state. Folks, this just can't continue. And I promise you, it won't. Since the day that Kentucky helped send President Trump to the White House, his top priority has been to repeal and replace Obamacare with something that actually works. And we've already made incredible progress. The House released its repeal and replace bill on Monday, and it already passed with unanimous support from 2 committees in the Congress, one of which Congressman Guthrie sits on. And Congressman, I just want to thank you for your strong support to repeal and replace Obamacare. Now, I know that not every politician in Kentucky supports our plan to repeal and replace Obamacare. I know your former Governor Steve Beshear has been defending Obamacare all over America. And he might even have something to say about my visit here today. And I welcome the debate. I really do. Steve Beshear is actually a friend of mine. We worked together while I was governor of Indiana to promote jobs and growth all across Kentuckiana. I'm awful proud of those Ohio River bridges, aren't you? The great story about collaboration between our 2 states, the Abraham Lincoln Bridge, the Lewis and Clark Bridge, I believe are going to support economic growth across this region for generations. But your former governor is wrong about Obamacare. Obamacare has failed the people of Kentucky, it's failed the people of America, and Obamacare must go. Now, the plan the President outlined in his joint address to Congress is the plan that we're working on. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare once and for all, and we're going to replace it with health care reform that will improve the lives of every American and strengthen our economy. The truth is, ordering every American to buy health insurance, whether they wanted it or not, was never the right solution for health care in this country. So we're going to start out. We're going to repeal the mandates and taxes and penalties of Obamacare. We're going to end Obamacare's individual and employer mandates. We're actually going to get rid of more than $500 billion in Obamacare's tax increases. And we're going to give Americans more choices. We'll expand health savings accounts. We'll give Americans a tax credit that'll help people buy plans that they need at a price that they can afford. We'll make sure that Americans with pre-existing conditions still have access to the coverage and the care that they need. And to all the parents here, we'll make sure you can keep your kids on your plan until they're 26 years of age. And most significantly, in my view, we'll give states like Kentucky the freedom and flexibility with Medicaid to meet the needs of your most vulnerable in the way that works here in Kentucky. Yeah. The bill moving through the Congress today is going to give Governor Bevin and, frankly, states all across the country the chance to reform Medicaid so it will better serve the underprivileged in your state with better coverage, better health, and better outcomes, just like the governor said. Uniquely designed for the people of Kentucky, a little bit like we did in the Hoosier State not too long ago. You know, I'll never forget being here for Governor Bevin's inaugural address. Anybody else remember that sunny day? But as I was sitting listening on, I remember hearing the governor say that he announced his intention to reform Medicaid using some of the same conservative principles that we used in Indiana. He said then that he was inspired by Indiana's reforms, but he was pretty sure Kentucky could do better than Indiana. And I'd like to see him try. In fact, President Trump truly does believe that giving states like Kentucky, like Indiana, like every state in the Union, the resources and flexibility to improve their health care programs in Medicaid is the American way to meet the needs of our most vulnerable, and we're going to make it happen. It's competition between the states will give the American people better health care choices. And under President Trump's leadership, we're actually also going to finally allow Americans to purchase health insurance across state lines, the way you buy life insurance, the way you buy car insurance. You know, President Trump and I both know the way to lower the cost of health insurance is to create a national marketplace and give Americans more choices to buy the insurance they want, not the insurance that the government mandates them to have. But folks, let me be clear. This is going to be a battle in Washington, D.C. And for us to seize this opportunity to repeal and replace Obamacare once and for all, we need every Republican in Congress, and we're counting on Kentucky. President Trump and I know at the end of the day, after a good and vigorous debate, we know Kentucky will be there, and we will repeal and replace Obamacare once and for all. And let me say one more thing. Despite some of the fear-mongering by those on the liberal left, I want to assure the people of Kentucky who might be looking on this morning, we're going to work with the Congress and work with our agency at Health and Human Services, and we're going to have an orderly transition to a better health care system that makes affordable, high-quality health insurance available for every American. In a word, we're going to make the best health care system in the world even better. Now, while I came here to talk about Obamacare, it's really just the start of what our administration is doing to make America great again. Now, let me give you a quick preview of that before I head back on that airplane. First off, after we get this done, we're going to cut taxes across the board for working families, small businesses, and family farms. We're going to keep slashing through red tape and rein in unelected bureaucrats so they can't cripple the economy from the comfort of their metal taxpayer-funded desks in Washington, D.C. We're going to do a little bit more like we did with those bridges. We're going to rebuild America so we have the best roads and bridges and highways and airports that America has ever had. But making America great again doesn't stop there, just there. This president has no higher priority, I promise you, than the safety and security of the American people, and he's working every single day to protect our nation and our way of life. This is a president, I can tell you, who appreciates the men and women of our law enforcement community, and he is standing every day with those who protect and serve our country in law enforcement. President Trump, as I mentioned, is also taking steps to strengthen our borders, to enforce our laws, and as the President said, we're working through Immigration and Customs Enforcement in close concert with law enforcement in every community, and we're taking, in his words, the gang members, the drug dealers, and the criminals that threaten our communities and prey on our citizens off the streets of Kentucky and off the streets of our country. And while we talk about those that serve in the uniform, as the proud father of a United States Marine, let me tell you how grateful I am that in President Donald Trump, we have a commander-in-chief who will rebuild our military, restore the arsenal of democracy, and give our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and training they need to accomplish their mission and protect our nation. And by nominating Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court of the United States, President Trump kept his word to appoint a justice to the Supreme Court who will keep faith with the Constitution, and he'll be a justice who will uphold the God-given liberties that are enshrined in our Bill of Rights. My friends, let me tell you, President Trump is a man of his word, and he's a man of action. And I believe he will make America great again. You know, I think we've come to a pivotal moment in our nation's history. I truly do. In this moment, we need every freedom-loving American to join with us in this effort to make America great again. We need all of you to stand up, to speak out, to let your voice be heard. There's no time like the present. We need you to tell the world that we can do better. We can do better on health care. We can do better with a growing economy. We can stand tall and strong in the world again. We can restore this country, put it back to a path to a brighter future. And I know we're going to do this. I truly do. You know, one of my favorite verses in the old book is from the book of Jeremiah. It's hung over the mantle of our home since before I was actually first elected to office, now more than 16 years ago. Now it hangs over the mantle in the Vice President's residence in Washington, D.C. It reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." You know, in November, the people of Kentucky voted to give America a president with the strength and the courage and the vision to make America safe again. You voted to give us a new leader who I believe will make America prosperous again and give us a fresh start on health care and economic growth. And so I truly do believe with all my heart that with your continued faith and support and with God's help, together, we will make America great again. Thank you very much for being here on this Saturday. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.